Hey, welcome to Cowboy Church. Well, if this is a first-time visit for you, sorry, we should have warned you. That's everyday normal response to anything we do here at Cowboy Church. We're delighted that you've chosen to come out this evening for this Abortion is on the Ballot Summit for Pathway to Victory. We're grateful you're here. It's my joy and privilege to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Senator Nancy Barto. Served in the legislature here in Arizona from 2006 to 2022, representing North Phoenix, Cave Creek, Carefree, and Scottsdale. As chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee, Nancy championed protections for the most vulnerable in our state, including the unborn, elderly, and individuals with disabilities. Recognized as a consistent leader for Arizona families, Nancy has been a strong voice for reform and accountability in Arizona's foster care, corrections, and behavioral health systems. Nancy believes Arizona's abortion laws should protect girls' and women's health and safety, not put them at risk. Nancy is a part of a campaign called It Goes Too Far, a broad coalition educating voters about the proposed abortion amendment and its consequences and why every voter in Arizona should vote no on the initiative. Nancy and her husband Joe grew up in the Valley, are proud parents of 3 daughters and sons-in-law and 3 grandchildren. Nancy studied vocal performance and elementary education at ASU and ASU West. And Nancy, you better hope the buzzing stops, because you'll have a microphone and we'll ask you to sing and vocally perform until the nonsense stops. So here's how this is going to work this evening. In just a moment, Nancy's going to come. And in fact, I'm going to ask Nancy, go ahead and come to the platform. I'm going to lead us in a word of prayer. Nancy will present, and then we'll have a few words from Teresa Martinez. And then we're going to use the balance of our time in prayer. I've asked our associate pastor, Steve Doka, to lead us in this guided time of prayer. And many of the pastors in our community will be on the platform praying as well. And then at the end, we do not want you to run off. You're going to hear from Nancy about something very important that you need to sign. And then we have a plethora of resources that I will mention again at the end. So bow your heads and hearts with me. Let me pray and we'll dive in. Father in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for every blessing of life you showered upon us. Father, as we gather here this evening, I pray that wherever we are on these issues, that you would remind us that it is you and you alone who has given life. So many things in our world seem to contradict that, but a simple reading of your word makes it very clear that every life is the result of your choice, and every life thus is very valuable. Father, I thank you so much for Nancy and this work that she and her campaign are doing. I pray today as she presents for us that you would help us to be good listeners, that you would help each one of us to prepare ourselves, to equip ourselves, to speak very clearly on this issue, to be winsome, to be encouraging to our fellow citizens. And Father, we pray that what happens here tonight would be the beginning of a great movement that would result in a path to victory indeed. Father, bless Nancy now as she comes to speak, and I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Welcome, Nancy Barto.
Cowboy Church is beautiful these days, isn't it? Oh my gosh, God's blessing all over. And God bless you, Pastor Tim, for taking the bull by the horns and just really not waiting one iota to set this up. I just am so blessed. So many pastors. I hope will follow your lead. And normally I don't wear, my jeans when I present, but I mean, it's Cowboy Church, right? So I'm having fun tonight, and even though it's a serious topic, I really pray that our understanding would be opened and there would be a great outpouring of action from tonight as we better understand what's going on and why what we're talking about goes too far. A lot of you already know about and hopefully you didn't sign those initiatives, petitions that got unregulated, unlimited abortion all the way through 9 months on our ballot. It's now called Prop 9 just got a prop number this week. They needed to collect 384,000 plus valid signatures, which are being challenged currently, but they went over twice that amount. So we're preparing for November because we can't get let up at all. We can't waste a moment's time in not talking about how extreme this is. But you can see the language on our website, of course, at goes-too-far.com. And on the Secretary of State's website, it's very, very short, very readable. The problem is it's short and readable, and people don't understand it. And people are being deceived because it's very vague and broad. And that is a problem for women, and obviously for the unborn going forward. I talked about it being unrestricted and unregulated abortion. It's an amendment to our Constitution that will, because it prohibits any Arizona government entity from denying, restricting, or interfering with a pregnant individual's fundamental right to an abortion, woke language aside, and pregnant individual. The major point is past, present, future legislatures, and laws protecting women would be unenforceable. And those are the things we're going to focus in on like a laser tonight, because that's not being talked about enough, and that's what our campaign is all about. It endangers women. Our laws should protect women and girls, and this goes too far. And we're going to find out why. It's because of this language in the amendment itself, prohibiting government from denying, restricting, or interfering with the fundamental right to an abortion. How does it do that? It makes, like I said, current laws unenforceable, such as parental consent, informed consent, health and safety standards, common sense clinic health and safety standards, and likely requires taxpayer-funded abortion. How do we know these will become unenforceable in Arizona if this passes? Because it's happening in Michigan, less than 2 years since they passed similarly extreme amendments in their state. No longer do they have to inform women of the risks to abortion. No longer do they have to have a physician have an in-person physical to determine whether or not a girl, how far along she is before she's prescribed the abortion pill, or if there's an ectopic pregnancy, which can lead to death if it's undiagnosed. We're going to go through every one of these, starting with, what if there's no medical doctor required? You know, they always say, well, it should be between the woman and her doctor. Physician is not mentioned in this amendment. It allows any treating healthcare professional to provide an abortion, including this list. Oh, I'm sorry, went a little fast, or skipped something, but I'll come back. Yeah, I know, jaw-dropping. And the list is about 25 healthcare professionals that fall under, in Arizona statute 32-3201, as a treating healthcare professional that could provide an abortion. Let's go back to what it means when you remove common sense safety standards and leave girls and women at risk who are seeking abortions. Undiagnosed ectopic pregnancy leads to death, potentially, if it's not caught early. Uterine perforation, bowel perforation, infection and hemorrhaging, incomplete abortions, undetected ectopic, and infertility. Right now, with over 60% of all abortions being by the pill, the abortion pill, 1 out of 25 of these girls end up with complications needing either a surgical abortion or they need help in an ER. They end up in the ED. How many more if the abortion pill is diagnosed too late? Right now, it's only supposed to be prescribed to a woman or a girl up to 10 weeks. But if there's no ultrasound required, how do we know it's going to happen? How do we know? We don't. And the consequences will be more of these, with girls going home with their abortion pills alone in their bathroom, bleeding out, not being caught in time, and dying. And by the way, another law that's gone by the wayside in Michigan is that they won't have to report that death to the state. We have very comprehensive reporting requirements in Arizona that protect women and girls right now. Those would not be enforceable here. So read the language. The other thing that is not being talked about is that it will allow abortion before and after fetal viability, with two broad exceptions. And we know that mental health is undefinable. It can mean basically anything. That's a common loophole that allows any of those previously mentioned healthcare professionals to recommend and sign off on a late-term abortion, even though they have no experience or expertise in obstetrics. Simply by their good faith judgment would they be able to do that. The other thing that has really not gotten very much attention is the fact that the language clearly says that it protects from punishment any individual or entity that aids a pregnant individual seeking an abortion. That would mean a sex abuser. That might mean a counselor, a school nurse, a coach. It could mean a boyfriend. It could mean a domestic issue. They could cover up their crime, take that girl, coerce that woman into an abortion, and not be held accountable for their crime, because the language puts the fundamental right to an abortion above enforcement of that law, and specifically says it is not, the state is not allowed to penalize any individual or entity for aiding or assisting their right to an abortion. I encourage you to read the language and encourage other people to read the language themselves. This was the issue that got my husband Joe and I involved years and years ago, when we found out that a 14-year-old girl had been taken out of school by a school nurse, and didn't find out that she had had an abortion without their knowledge until she ended up with complications in the emergency room. And we looked at each other and said, how can this be? We had 3 young daughters at the time. We said, there certainly should be a law, right? Well, they were trying. They were trying in Arizona, but our particular state senator, Republican at the time, was voting no on such common sense laws like parental consent, informed consent. You see, all of these laws post-Roe had to be put in place by each individual state legislature. And Arizona was meeting the challenge, or trying to protect women seeking abortions. So we got involved. I mean, who doesn't believe the parents should be involved when their underage daughter is pregnant and she needs help at that most critical time to make that decision? So we got involved and backed our senator's opponent and did our little part, and he won by about 256 votes. It was incredible. And that convinced us that our voice mattered, no matter how small it felt at the time. Little did I know that I'd be able to serve for 17 years and help in other ways at the legislature, passing more and more protections and making a difference for life. But the point being, the larger point I want to make here, is that if this passes, Prop 139 passes, no legislature will be able to come to the rescue and fix it unless there's another ballot amendment to be voted on by the voters to change the Constitution. So when I said past, present, and future, this is serious stuff. We have protections in law that women care about, standards for clinics. We require a doctor. We require ultrasound. For any major surgery, any major medical procedure, you want to know, you want parental consent if you're underage, you want informed consent. All of those will become unenforceable and have to bow to the fundamental right guaranteed in our Constitution if this passes. One by one, they're falling in Michigan and Ohio, and that will happen here too if people don't know. So basically, this is what we're talking about, because this is what people need to know. They need to know that these common sense laws are going away, these protections. They also need to know that what our current law is, when we talked about it going post fetal viability is about 21 weeks. And it's a moving target. Our current law is 15 weeks. That's almost 4 months. It goes beyond that. But Prop 139 will go all the way up to birth. Only with the sign-off of one of those treating healthcare professionals. They don't want to tell you all of that because, frankly, a lot of people they really think they don't happen, those late-term abortions, partial birth abortions don't happen. They do. Guttmacher Institute, not a very pro-life organization. Their data says there's over 10,000 a year in the United States, and most of those are elective. Partial birth abortions will become commonplace in Arizona. So why this message? Because the polling and focus groups have said that this is the most effective way to reach a general audience. When we started this campaign, we knew it was going to take more than people that just believe life is precious and begins at conception to make a difference and have people vote no. We need to appeal to that general audience because many people who call themselves even pro-lifers, even in the church, would vote for this. They did in Ohio because they believe, and what they do is different. It's different. And we need to get this word out that it's dangerous. In Ohio, 1/3 of regular churchgoers voted for their abortion law. Right now in Arizona, we're standing at 1/4, not much better. We could have everybody that says they're a pro-lifer vote against this, though, and still lose. We need people that really identify as pro-choice to understand how dangerous this is. And that's going to take a conversation. When the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, they returned it to the states and Congress to deal with it. It was an unconstitutional law, and it needed to go away. The states and the voters need to decide. The abortion extremists are trying to end the conversation before it starts with their big money and extreme views and their deception. 90% of voters, all voters, believe that there should be limits on abortion. Limits, Republicans, Democrats, and independents. But this removes all the limits. But most voters are uninformed, and so we need to stay on message for that reason. They don't know, and they're being told one side. We need to tell the other side and repeat it simply and with emotion. People respond that way. Not the kind of anger that they might expect from somebody who's on the other side. But they need to know the facts, because it will create doubt in the minds of those who may consider themselves pro-choice. So that's why we want to stay on these messages and talk to people. Who do we talk to? Anyone who might support abortion to some degree. It could be people in your family you don't know quite where they stand. You don't know. Talk to your family, because they need to know that 90% of all voters support limits, and this removes them all. They also probably don't know, which we learned from polling, is that our law is 15 weeks, and it's going to stay that way for a while. Despite so many incredible legislators like Representative Martinez, who stood firm, we know that most people support 15 or below. But this goes beyond what most people support, and they deserve to know this. It goes beyond in the fact of, in the cases of medical emergencies, past 15 weeks as well. And that's an important point, because they're using the fear tactic. Like, whatever our law is, whatever our legislature does, it's not going to protect women. Not so. Even our AG Mays came up with a statement defining what medical emergencies are. And it's very reasonable. Doctors know what a medical emergency is. And it goes as far as it needs to protect that woman. But the deception game is in full swing now. And that's why we need to be talking about the facts and the myths and get involved with the campaign. How do we do that? We start the discussion to read the initiative themselves. We get involved. Have the language handy so you can show where your arguments come from. And make sure people know the current law. One of the things we're doing in earnest right now is having updates, path to victory briefings, to encourage people to really understand what this amendment is. Because one pass in an evening like this is probably not enough. So that's why we've got these clipboards, and we'll come back to that a little bit. You were given some of our latest pamphlets upon coming in, and we've got some of those for you to take. We need you, though, to sign up on those clipboards before you leave, so that we can invite you to attend a briefing and really dig in to why the messaging is what it is and go over it so that people feel comfortable talking about it. It's a very uncomfortable discussion, isn't it? But this is the hand we're dealt in Arizona. We don't have time to argue amongst ourselves. We don't have time to assume anything. We have to get down to business and take it upon ourselves to understand it, because I know all of you are going to vote no. So why sign up on the clipboard? So that others will know. It would be a shame if we woke up on November 6th and this thing passed and we failed to tell people around us what it actually did. And then we find out in a couple of years, all of these protections are gone. What else will you learn in the briefings? You'll not only learn about a lot of the recent polling and things that were on the previous slide that are really actually very encouraging. We can win this thing. We can. The messaging is getting through. All of the volunteers that have been getting involved, like you and me, across the state, are making a huge difference. And it's been a wonder to watch. Just as an example, on Independence Day, all around July 4th, there were like 60 events statewide with, thousands of volunteers handing out water bottles with our "It Goes Too Far" labels on them. Soft outreach, spreading the word. 3,500 volunteers are activated right now, and we need more, especially churches. So we're going to be talking about in depth some of our the next phase, hosting neighborhood coffees, signing up for shifts at more public events like fairs, and doing canvassing if you're a candidate, so we can coordinate with you. Approaching your church, how to do that. How many know about the Arizona Pro-Life Pastors Declaration? It's on arizonaprolifepastors.org. And it's an amazing declaration, bold statement by pastors opposing Prop 139. About 600 have signed up so far. Has yours, if you don't attend this church? We need to share the word with other people you know that go to other churches. It's an easy way to broach the subject. Has your pastor signed this? And then reach out so that we can contact those pastors with their help and give them the resources that are being developed right now. Sermon notes, example sermons, videos of testimonies, bulletin inserts, on-screen announcements, speakers, all kinds of resources pastors can use, because they need to understand this is no longer a pro-life, pro-choice decision. And it's not a political issue. We know it's a spiritual issue. It is. But it's also affecting everyone in their church. They need encouragement to talk about it and to get involved. Prayer calls. We know we can't win without the Lord, but with Him, all things are possible. You can sign up for the prayer calls to join us. We know lots of people are praying. We know that we will be outspent mightily. But money isn't everything. It isn't. Sometimes it has diminishing returns. A lot of candidates have experienced that when they're outspent, but the people are with them. The people will respond to the truth if it's given in a humble way, respectful way, and we're all going in the same direction. We need coalitions that are going to get involved. An exciting new one is the Medical Professionals Coalition. We know the medical industry is all in for abortion without limits. It's nonsensical. It's satanic, as some have said. It's the culture. And they don't want to go against that. They don't want to offend anyone. But we have, and you know, physicians and healthcare professionals that go against the grain. They know the truth. They know the danger, and they're willing to stand up and sign a medical professional statement, which is on the It Goes Too Far website. It says, what health experts say. Check it out and share it with a physician you know who might want to sign it Ask a nurse, ask an acupuncturist, any healthcare professional to sign it and get involved in this coalition and other coalitions you're a part of. One reason Arizona's got a leg up over states like Ohio, Michigan, and others who failed is our Hispanic population. They're engaging, and we need every group to engage. We have our Spanish, It Goes Too Far website and all of the materials as well. Groups you're a part of, they're ripe for this conversation. Don't be afraid. I was afraid at first to even tell my hairdresser at first what I was up to. And I was really shocked when she said, oh my gosh, her voice got real low and she said, you wouldn't believe how many people sit in this chair and have had a horrible experience with abortion. She took my flyers and she's got them at her seat. Yeah, people need the truth. They're hungry for the truth in more ways than one. Social media. You'll learn more at these briefings on how to do do's and don'ts on social media, but it's a powerful tool. Are you on TikTok? I didn't think so. But we are. And you wouldn't believe we're here. We're really reaching the younger generation. We've got a great gal who's reaching out on TikTok day and night, and she's showing us our every week when we have our campaign meetings, how many, by the 100 folds, it seems like, increases every week. Outreach helps. Getting the truth out helps. Being respectful helps. Let's see if I can do this. What did I do wrong? Okay. There we go. Well, wait. I think I passed questions. Get the facts. This is a QR code to get involved and to the website itself. If you can share that with people, we'd sure love that. I'm not sure how much time we've got, if I've run out or if we want to start with some questions. But before we leave, I do want you to, got 3 stations with pamphlets, my cards, stickers, and those wonderful clipboards that I need your John Hancock. Actually, I want you to print so we can read it. So that we can just inform you on what this amendment does so that you can get involved in it and talk about it with other people you know and get involved. And let's win this in November. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to wrap up later with an opportunity for all these resources where I'm sure Nancy will be here. You can ask her a question directly. But does anybody have a burning question that you feel like all of us probably need the answer for? Anybody at all? Yes, sir.
I think so. Ultrasounds are just God's gift to women, in particular, in my opinion. They've saved so many lives. And, you know, there's going to be, that's a great example at all of the pregnancy resource centers. They use them, and they change lives every day. And, you know, women seeking abortions wouldn't have that opportunity in abortion clinics, likely.
Right.
Yeah,
it would.
Yeah, that's one of those laws that might become unenforceable in a quick order.
Amen. For the sake of time, yes, Chris.
A group of activists that you'd expect: Planned Parenthood of Arizona, ACLU of Arizona, NARAL of Arizona, and a group called RISE.
They're the same ones that knock on your door and say...
Okay, it's different from an initiative. Comes from the outside. where you have to gather signatures to get it on the ballot. That's what the decline to sign effort was all about. A referendum is passed through your legislature, and so that doesn't require any kind of signature gathering or petition. So whatever a conservative Republican sends to the ballot, legislature sends to the ballot, you probably want to vote for it, but not these initiatives.
All right.